Introduced in 1991, the Wright Spirit Award acknowledges the efforts of extraordinary individuals and organizations to preserve the legacy of Frank Lloyd Wright. Awards are presented in 4 categories: private, public, professional, and special honors. Each honoree has contributed to the Conservancy's mission, which is to facilitate the preservation and stewardship of the remaining built works designed by Frank Lloyd Wright through advocacy, education, and technical services. The private category honors owners of Wright-designed houses who have rescued a building or demonstrated outstanding stewardship in its conservation. The Conservancy is pleased to present the Wright Spirit Award in the private category to Tom and Elsa Katana for their efforts to preserve, restore, and sensitively renovate Wright's 1939 Uchtman House in Baltimore, Maryland. At less than 1,200 square feet, Uchtman House in Baltimore, Maryland is one of the smallest of Wright's typically modest early Usonian houses, houses which, due to their relatively small size, are among the most vulnerable of his buildings. Having previously rented the Uchtman House, Tom and Elsa Katana bought that property in 2013 and, building on the work of the house's previous owners, Lois and Philip Matched, made the decision to preserve the small house, an act that was in itself a manifestation of their commitment to Wright's work. By the time they bought it, the house had experienced deterioration and significant alterations, some sensitive, some not so sensitive. The replacement of its concrete floor, the removal of partitions, and deferred maintenance had, like a cataract, occluded Wright's original vision. That vision needed to be revived while making the house livable for the 21st century. Important to the preservation of a residence is its functionality. Compatibility with current standards of comfort and utility are vital to maintain and preserve the architectural integrity of these buildings. Working with Mark Treon, the Baltimore architect Siger Sneed, the Katanas began their process of rejuvenation with the kitchen, making the small space more conducive to contemporary use by the sensitive integration of updated appliances and the installation of cabinetry fabricated from specially sourced Tidewater red cypress. By late 2022, the kitchen renovation was complete, and planning was in progress for the renovation of the bathroom and small powder room. Then, 2 days before Christmas, an event occurred that changed the course of the project. A 60-foot Norway spruce fell on the house, puncturing the roof and causing structural damage to the roof and walls at the south end of the house. This event motivated a full roof replacement as well as a thorough review of the house's structure. The scope of work eventually expanded to include the recreation of the house's red concrete floors. For this project, the Katanas consulted with Lawrence and Sharon Tarantino, acknowledged experts on Wright's concrete floors. No space in the house was left unimproved, and during the 2023 to 2024 phase of the work, the Katanas moved to rented quarters nearby. Tom and Elsa's excitement in their project is evident in the care they have taken to preserve the essence of the Uchtman House. Although not a full restoration, the Katanas' work to date has helped ensure that this modest house has a much better chance to thrive in the future. The Conservancy is pleased to present the Wright Spirit Award in the private category to Tom and Elsa Katana for their efforts to preserve, restore, and sensitively renovate Wright's Uchtman House. The professional category honors individuals who, through architectural, scholarly, or other endeavors, have enhanced the knowledge and increased the appreciation of the work of Frank Lloyd Wright. The Conservancy is pleased to present the Wright Spirit Award to the Falling Water Wood Conservators, Tom A. Gentle, Victoria L. Jeffries, and Sean Fisher, for their combined effort to preserve and protect Falling Water's wood furnishings. When Falling Water embarked on a project to undergo full conservation of its wood furnishings in June 1986, Conservator Tom Gentle, then acting director of the Williamstown Regional Art Conservation Lab in Williamstown, Massachusetts, summed up the conditions he observed, writing, "Over 40 years of use, compounded by severe problems with an internal leakage from the roof, along windowsills, and in other locations have caused serious damage to desks, tables, bookshelves, cabinet doors, and heat ventilation louvers. Tom soon established himself as the foremost authority on Falling Water's woodwork, visiting Falling Water nearly annually from 1986 to 2012 to make condition assessments and effecting treatments for the conservation of woodwork. Tom, along with Victoria Jeffries, who became Falling Water's primary wood conservator in 2013, implemented a conservation plan and in 1989 published their methods in the APT Bulletin, the Journal of the Association for Preservation Technology. They illustrated their article with dramatic before and after images, as well as listing the types of dyes, shellacs, and adhesive used to make their repairs. In 2001, Tom and Victoria oversaw the removal and reinstallation of built-in furnishings from the living room as the site prepared for a major restoration project that addressed many of Tom's early condition findings. Similarly, conservator Sean Fisher, who joined Jeffries in 2015 and has since 2023 directed Falling Water's woodwork conservation, makes annual assessment visits. This maintains the continuity of care established by Tom and Victoria over the course of nearly 40 years. During the winter months of 2023 and 2024, Sean removed and performed key conservation tasks on built-in furnishings on the house's second and third floors. This allowed access to the house's stone walls prior to preservation work, replicating the process Tom and Victoria had used on the house's main floor years before. The lineage of overlapping expertise has ensured a superior level of conscientious treatment regimens as well as thorough documentation. While it is nearly impossible to capture in words the quality and quantity of the woodwork conservation by Tom Gentle, Victoria Jeffries, and Sean Fisher, they have collectively maintained the beauty and authenticity of Frank Lloyd Wright's furniture at Falling Water for nearly 40 years. In their combined effort to preserve and protect Falling Water's wood furniture, the Conservancy honors the Falling Water wood conservators Tom Gentle, Victoria Jeffries, and Sean Fisher with a Wright Spirit Award in the professional category. The Conservancy is pleased to honor Pamela Jerome with a Wright Spirit Award in the professional category for her dedication to the conservation and preservation of Falling Water's concrete, stone, and other materials. Concrete and stone masonry are to Falling Water what Frank Lloyd Wright is to 20th century American architecture. No one knows more about either of these two materials and their use at Falling Water than Pamela Jerome. In 1992, Pamela became project manager of an investigation of the concrete and stone at Falling Water when her firm, Wausau, was engaged to assess these materials at the site. Thus began a professional consultation that has lasted for much of the past 33 years and has made her the foremost expert on Falling Water's preservation history. In 1996, Pamela's investigation yielded a 5-volume series of analyses of materials at Falling Water. These analyses were incorporated into the site's 1999 Preservation Master Plan and became the basis of an $11.5 million restoration completed in 2001. Pamela's work resolved issues relating to concrete deterioration, steel window and door restoration, terrace waterproofing, below-grade damp proofing, interior moisture penetration, and exterior paints and coatings. It also addressed the reconstruction of the house's eye-catching stair down to Bear Run. Following the completion of the restoration project, Pamela co-authored a pair of articles summarizing the investigation of Falling Water's concrete, stone, and steel deterioration. Those reports described the house's materials and systems and presented plans of action for Falling Water's curatorial and maintenance teams to care for the house, a playbook for day-by-day care to prevent material degradation. In 2015, Pamela founded architectural preservation studio DPC and returned to Falling Water the following year. A review of existing conditions indicated that an update of the 20-year-old master plan was required. Incorporating materials and methods developed in the intervening years, she and her team also used digital technology, laser scanning the main house and guest house over a 15-month period. Pamela and her firm have provided the stewards of Falling Water with an immeasurable level of professional guidance as they work to conserve and maintain the World Heritage Site, thereby preserving Frank Lloyd Wright's design for future generations. For her dedication to the conservation and preservation of Falling Water's concrete, stone, and other materials, we are pleased to honor Pamela Jerome with a Wright Spirit Award in the professional category. The Special Honors category recognizes individuals or organizations whose work represents a unique contribution to the preservation of the legacy of Frank Lloyd Wright. The Conservancy is pleased to present Givenchy with a Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category for their thoughtful and preservation-minded adaptive reuse of the Anderton Court shops. It may be difficult to imagine Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills as a small business street with a hardware store, flower shop, and bookstore. But this is how a turn-of-the-century bridle path had developed by 1954, when Frank Lloyd Wright's Anderton Court shops was completed. Built as a mixed-use commercial structure, over the course of the second half of the 20th century, the building underwent alterations and periods of neglect. As Rodeo Drive became a global shopping destination, the Anderton Court shops stagnated, looking forlorn and ignored. The street's extraordinarily high demand for luxury retail space made Anderton Court shops highly vulnerable to economic pressure that, despite the building's local landmark status, put it at risk for unsympathetic development. It was extremely fortuitous that the management of Givenchy was captivated by the inherent value of the building's design, its Frank Lloyd Wright legacy, and the potential for its adaptive reuse as the company's Rodeo Drive flagship store. The decision was also reinforced by the fashion house's founder, Hubert de Givenchy's love of art and architecture, making the Wright design building an especially apt choice. In early 2023, the company began conversations that led to the rehabilitation and thoughtful adaptive reuse of the Anderton Court shops. Working with respected architectural firm Page Turnbull as preservation consultant, Givenchy took extreme care to ensure that existing historic elements were preserved, altered aspects were restored, and missing elements were replicated. As originally designed, the building's central hexagonal ramp provided access to individual retail units at different levels. The renovation respected the spatial allocation of the units by assigning different product categories to the various units. This cleverly preserved the original feeling of separate shops and allowed the floor plan to remain unaltered. Pedestrian circulation, an integral aspect of the ramp structure, has been retained. The attention to detail with the goal of maintaining the historic integrity is remarkable, and the result is a laudable preservation achievement. Equally important, the future of the Anderton Court shops as a viable retail site in a highly competitive environment has been immeasurably enhanced by Givenchy's committed stewardship. We are pleased to present Givenchy a Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category for their thoughtful and preservation-minded adaptive reuse of the Anderton Court shops. The Conservancy is delighted to present a Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category to Neil Levine for his dedication to the legacy of Frank Lloyd Wright through his scholarship and teaching and his leadership and support of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. Professor Neil Levine is acknowledged as one of the foremost scholars on the work of Frank Lloyd Wright. Serving as the Emmett Blakeney Gleason Professor of the History of Art and Architecture at Harvard University for nearly 40 years, he has published seminal writings on Wright and modern architecture. Perhaps the best known of these, The Architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright, published in 1996, and The Urbanism of Frank Lloyd Wright, published in 2016, develop comprehensive narratives of the architect's career and influence. The latter work won the 2017 Prose Award in Architecture and Urban Planning from the Association of American Publishers. Between these two seminal works, his 2010 Modern Architecture, Representation and Reality placed Wright's accomplishments in the context of the evolving development of modern architecture. In recognition of his work, Neil in 2010 was elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and in 2018 he was awarded the Gold Medal in the History of Art by the Academy of Architecture in Paris. While he has recently turned his attention to other areas and written books on Henri Laproust's Bibliothèque Sainte-Geneviève, The Sculpture of Donald Judd, and A History of Postmodern Architecture, he has found time to publish two more works on Wright: Frank Lloyd Wright's Jacobs Houses, Experiments in Modern Living, published in 2022, and Frank Lloyd Wright, Encore, Space and the Organic Ideal, published in 2025. Neil's impeccable scholarship continues to set a standard for art and architectural history. In addition to his writings, Neil has nurtured a generation of scholars who continue to contribute to our understanding of Wright's work. In 1996, Neil joined the board of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, the same year as his future wife, Susan Jacobs Lockhart. Acting as its vice president from 2005 to 2009, he served nearly continuously on the board until 2023. For many years, he was instrumental in helping to guide the direction of the Conservancy's annual conferences, acting as chair of the organization's Themes and Speakers Committee. In 2012, he was one of the leaders of the organization's successful advocacy for the David and Gladys Wright House in Phoenix. In an effort led by his late wife, Susan Jacobs Lockhart, Neil was a moving force in the creation of Save Wright, the organization's magazine. He was instrumental in organizing the Conservancy's 2017 symposium, Rethinking Frank Lloyd Wright at 150, held at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and he co-edited the volume of the same name that published papers from that symposium. Of inestimable importance to the legacy of Frank Lloyd Wright was Neil's initial selection of sites to be considered for the inclusion in the UNESCO World Heritage nomination, and his drafting of the description of the outstanding universal values of each site. His subsequent consultation with the World Heritage List team was critical in achieving the 2019 inscription of the 20th Century Architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. For his dedication to the legacy of Frank Lloyd Wright through his scholarship and teaching, and his leadership and support of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, the Conservancy is indebted to Neil Levine, seen here with his late wife Susan, for whom he accepted the Wright Spirit Award posthumously at the Conservancy's 2024 conference. And we are delighted to present to him the Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category. The Conservancy is pleased to present Lord Peter and Lady Hyatt Palumbo with the Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category for their preservation of Kintuck Knob, as well as creating a sustainable model of stewardship based on public access. Kintuck Knob, also known as the Hagen House, is the 1954 Usonian neighbor of Falling Water, located in the Laurel Highlands of western Pennsylvania. In 1985, Lord Peter Palumbo, an art collector and patron of the arts and architecture, was visiting Falling Water where he learned that the Hagens, who had commissioned Kintuck Knob from Wright, were interested in selling their house. Having already owned and restored Mies van der Rohe's Edith Farnsworth house, stewarding the Usonian, based on a modified hexagonal module and constructed of native stone, tidewater red cypress, and topped by a copper-hipped roof, might have seemed relatively uncomplicated, at least by comparison with the Farnsworth house, which Lord Palumbo restored not once but twice, after a flood ruined the first restoration. However, within a year of the purchase, an accidental fire destroyed part of the roof and caused extensive smoke and water damage throughout the house. Restoration became the imperative, and the Palumbos renovated the interiors, including the tidewater cypress surfaces. Robert Taylor, who had worked with the Hagens on other design aspects of Kintuck Knob, knew the property well and was able to project manage the extensive renovation-restoration project. With restoration completed, the Palombos and their children were able to spend summers at Kintuck Knob and became deeply committed to the preservation of the property. In the tradition of the British country house, they decided to open Kintuck Knob to the public in 1997. In doing so, they created a successful, self-sustaining operating model that, in addition to providing public access, produces a revenue stream to fund Kintuck Knob's operation and future preservation. The stewardship of Kintuck Knob is very much a family business, with the Palombos' children, Philip and Petra, actively engaged in the management of the property. In addition to experiencing the house Wright designed for Kintuck Knob, the Palombos have created a woodland walk through a sculpture park on the property so visitors can see a selection of their collection, which includes site-specific installations by such notables as artists Andy Goldsworthy and George Rickey. For the restoration of Kintuck Knob, as well as creating a sustainable model of stewardship based on public access, the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy is pleased to present to Lord Peter and Lady Hyatt Palumbo the Wright Spirit Award in the Special Honors category.